Welcome back again. In the last episode, we began to talk about classroom management. Today, we will continue to discuss it. Tips for better classroom management. The first thing you want to do is ensure that the students are seated properly. If you notice students talk a lot in a certain seating arrangement, let them know to stop talking. You don't need to yell, just place your fingers on your lips and tell them to be quiet. The quieter you talk sometimes makes students listen better. If students continue to talk, move them to another area of the classroom so they cannot talk to, look at, or sit next to each other. If they continue, send them to the director. In many cases, going to the director is the first step in being reported to their parents. Stop problems before they start. If students are talking, let them know to stop. If students are talking on the phone, tell them immediately to stop. The longer a problem persists, the harder it is to fix. Enforce your rules immediately and punish evenly. Be proactive when asking students to stop a problem. You can look at them and say, "I really would appreciate it if you came into class early." This way it doesn't come across as argumentative. A new teacher may look at a student and say, "You're late. Sit down, I'm docking a point for this. See me after class." When you see children running and they aren't supposed to be, you can say, "Be careful. Slow down so you don't get hurt." The students should stop, don't yell at them, "Stop running." You may come across as being crude and mean to the students. Clarify your instructions. Ask the students if they understand you. If they do, then proceed, if not, then explain again and again until they understand. Do not stop until they understand you completely. Find new ways of explaining things. Paraphrase the lesson in different ways. Be stern, straightforward, and kind. A popular parenting advice is to punish with one hand while the other hand comforts. To explain further, you should punish the student if they are bad, but let them know they are being punished for doing something wrong, and if they fix the problem, you will forget what they did. Don't hold a grudge or continue to punish a student if they make a positive change. You should want students to learn from examples. Some of the biggest gripes from students are that they are expected to be on time, but the teacher shows up late. The teacher doesn't correct homework on time, while expecting the students to have it done on time. Teach with examples. If you want them to be quiet and polite, you need to be quiet and polite. If you notice a student is wandering off or not paying attention, you can continue your instruction and quietly mention the student's name. The student will hear their name and look at you out of instinct. When they do, continue your lesson. You don't need to stop the lesson and yell at the student to pay attention. An example would go like this. This is a present continuous sentence. David. It shows a present-day situation that may or may not be continuing. By doing this, you covertly get David to look at you without the rest of the class laughing at him. Start as soon as the bell rings. If you like to joke with students, joke before class, but as soon as the bell rings, the joking stops and the learning starts. The students should know that as soon as the class starts, all their talking must stop. Make sure you have all students' attention before you start a lesson. Clap your hands to get the students' attention. Remember when you were young? Some teachers rang bells or whistled. You can do the same thing. When you get the attention, you go directly into the lesson by teaching exactly what the lesson will be for the day. Be prepared for every situation. If you are a parent or babysat, you know what to expect from children. You know what your boiling point is. If you are prepared for students who try to push you, then you have nothing to worry about. When you arrive in class, ensure you have enough teachable material to teach from if you run out of material. There may be times when an entire class may forget to bring their books and you may have to deviate from the lesson plan. Handouts are very good when problems like this happen. I've had classes pretend that they did not have their books until the director came into class and miraculously books appeared. While these are some tips for a teacher, there are hundreds more not listed here. Some work and some don't work. Each class is different. Some classes will want to study all the time with no joking, others will want to joke constantly. You have to figure out what each class wants yourself. Another plus with extra handouts in the classroom is when you give an exercise to do and one student finishes early. The best thing you can have is an extra handout or two. This way the student who finishes early can continue to work without becoming bored or an interruption to other students. If you would want that student to be of assistance, you can have that student walk around the room as an aide and help the slower students and become a tutor or mentor to them. Walk around the classroom and look at how the students are doing while they are doing the work. Help the students when they it. Show them what they are doing wrong, ask them questions to see if they understand. If not, give them advice on how to do the worksheet. Have a bright, cheerful classroom. This may be hard to do in some private English schools. Students will learn better if the class is full of bright colors and has pictures. Students' minds tend to wander, and if pictures with words are on the wall, the students can learn while daydreaming. You may not like this part, but a cheerful classroom will help students learn better. Remember, you are the instructor and you make the decisions. Many teachers want to make the students happy, so the teacher allows the students to make decisions. The students do what they want and they are happy, but they learn nothing. Make the decisions for the class. That is your responsibility. Try to look at things from their point of view. Maybe they study too hard at their regular school and don't have much time to do their homework. Maybe you are being too hard on them or the class is boring. Never talk down to them, but talk at their level. They will have more respect for you. Remember, there are some students who get a thrill at making you angry. They will push you to the limits in class. When they leave class, they will laugh about it. You should too. Sometimes these students actually prohibit the class from learning. You should have a proactive approach. If a student is constantly bothering the class, move them to the back of the class and or find a smooth approach to make the students stop what they are doing. One time, a student I had talked constantly during class. The more I told him to stop, the more he acted up. I was angry. Then I just decided one day not to be angry anymore and do the opposite of what the student would want me to do. If he said something funny, I would then just laugh and make a snide funny remark back at him. One day, he decided to ask me how to spell a profanity. Instead of yelling at him, I proceeded to instruct him on how to spell his own name. To his dismay, he actually wrote it before he realized what happened. A few months later, he confided in me in front of the class. He gave up trying to irritate me. He said he couldn't because I was always doing things the opposite of what he expected of me. He said he really loved it and he only misbehaved to see what new funny thing I would do. Then he told me something that astonished me. He only misbehaved in class to irritate the teacher. He once went to English camp and acted up. The Western teachers were really angry. The angrier they got, the more he acted up. They eventually began shaking because they were angry. He loved it. However, he could never get me that angry and wanted to know why. I told him I acted up in class and didn't get too far in life. So if he wanted to work at the local burger joint, he could continue to act up. He acted at least abnormal in class after that. Another class was very talkative. No matter what I said, they laughed. So I took a tactic from the military and fast times at Ridgemont High. The students wasted my time, so I was going to waste their time. Whenever I wrote a name on the board, they owed me 5 minutes after class. Each checkmark was 5 additional minutes. Some racked up 20 minutes detention after class and they had to stay after school. Eventually they would beg me to allow them to go home. Many had different classes to be at and me keeping them late would get them in trouble with their parents. Some parents in Asia follow the teacher's instructions to a T. If you mention the student isn't learning and give instructions to help the student, the parent will do that. Remember, waste their time if they waste your time, even if it means coming in on Saturday. Other tactics might be writing names on the board, keeping them after school, no recess, letters home to parents telling them about the student's behavior, meetings with parents. Well, that is all the time we have for today. Tomorrow we will continue classroom management. Thank you, and I will see you next time.